What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hobby Jogger Elite. My name is Connor. Amazing, as always, to have you back to take part with me in my running journey. The marathon continues. It is already that part of the year. I feel like May is just flying by already. We're almost a full month removed from my last race, the Coastal Delaware Half Marathon, back in the middle of April. And it's definitely time to start getting some events, some races down on the calendar. I'm eager to sort of get back into some structured training. Took a couple days after that half marathon back in April to sort of, regather myself, let things rest a little bit, did some non-impact type of stuff before jumping back in slowly to some training, and I'm sort of back at like my normal maintenance mileage at this point, hovering around 50 miles a week. It's definitely got me itching to sign up for some races and sort of take a look at that back half of 2023 in regards to races I want to do, because that's one of the sort of like initiatives I want to take. I definitely get nervous, get anxious for races, but there is no feeling like that sort of race day energy and the sort of air around race day when you're with all the other runners towing that starting line. It is like beyond words, such an amazing feeling. And I want to be able to experience that more on a yearly basis. I have definitely not raced as much as I have wanted to in the past, but I want to make definitely some intentional moves to start racing a variety of different distances at a variety of different times throughout the year. So that's what I wanted to talk with all of you about today. Pretty much the rest of my racing plans for the remainder of the 2023 year. So at the time of recording this, it is like the middle of May, and I have signed up for my next race officially. Outside of that, I'm only signed up for one more beyond this one, but we're starting off the second half of 2023 with a 5K race. Yes, this is admittedly the only distance that I have had success with in the year of 2023 so far. I wouldn't call my half marathon an utter failure, but I did miss my PR attempt by, a pretty fair distance. But the times that I have put out a valiant attempt at the 5K this year, I've been successful. It's kind of daunting to think about the time that I ran. I was really impressed when I ran that 1824 PR back in January of 2023. And the thought of doing that in what will definitely be much warmer temperatures, it scares me a little bit, but I want to challenge myself in that way. It's taking place in the morning, a mid-June race. I am typically avoiding racing in hot temperatures like the plague. I have never even considered, before signing up for this race, which I am officially registered for, I've never considered running a race in the heat, because I know that it is scientifically much harder for your body to handle those much faster paces in the heat. But you gotta challenge yourself. You got to throw yourself into the ringer here and there and see what you're made of. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing on June 17th when it comes to this 5K. It is not quite as flat as my previous 5K course that I ran twice on back in January to run somewhere in the 1840s and then that 1824. But it is still relatively flat. It's like less than 100 feet of elevation gain, which is definitely great for a hot race because I don't want to be dealing with a ton of hills and everything. Fingers crossed that that all goes well. I am following the Faster Road Racing 5K training plan for that. I definitely shortened it a little bit. I've made it a little bit more flexible because of, some life events coming up. My sister's getting married, so, there's like a whole weekend that I can't train, which I'm fine with. We love seeing family members get married, being a part of weddings and all of that, but the deal. You can't always train with these training plans to a T, especially when you're like me and you might just do something, not necessarily on impulse, but, not with a ton of forward planning, I would say. So definitely reduced from that usual like 10 or 11 week 5K training down down to about 7 or 8 weeks. I've definitely gotten in some good aerobic training and a workout or two in the past couple weeks. So hopefully that is a solid enough base to jump into, 1 or 2 workouts a week, a lot of VO2 max and threshold training. So I'm excited to see what racing a June 5K looks like. And this is right before I go on a trip up to the Finger Lakes this summer. So that should be a fun way to sort of relax back into some like easy, structureless running before we get into some summer miles leading up to another race that I'm already signed up for, which is the Bird in Hand half marathon. Now, I'm not actually like all out racing this race. If you recall one of my previous training updates, I think I also talked about the Nova Blast first impressions in that video. I talked about how I helped and ran with my brother for his first ever half marathon, obviously delivering him a PR because every time you debut at a distance, it is an automatic PR. And he's shooting for a PR again in early September. So that will be taking place on September 9th. It's like a 2-part of a race series with the half marathon we did back in March. I love racing with other people. I love running with other people. I always get a lot more enjoyment when there's some sort of personal connection with the people that you are, racing the race with. So I'm really looking forward to running that with him, doing my best to help him achieve his goal of PRing again. He ran somewhere in the 137s his first half marathon. Hopefully we can beat that together there in early September. Signed up for that already? And that and the 5K in June are the only races I am officially signed up for the rest of 2023. So let's talk about what my sort of tentative plans are in my build-up for my fall marathon. So let's talk about some tune-up races first before we get to the main course of the potential marathons. I'm currently looking at 2 potential half marathon tune-up races. The first potential tune-up option is part of the ASICS Susquehanna River Running Festival in Havre de Grace, Maryland. It looks like an absolutely beautiful race. So in terms of, the scenic elements, this seems like a fun race to do. It's not an insanely slow course. It looks like there are some pretty intense, severe turnaround points. I think it's around 300 or 400 feet of elevation gain, which, every long run I do is anywhere between 600 and 900 feet of elevation gain. So I'm definitely used to hills on my runs. But when you think flat and fast, you're usually hoping for somewhere beneath 100, 150 feet of elevation gain. But this is definitely one of the options I'm looking at because 1, I finally don't have to stay somewhere else for a race. This might be a yearly tune-up if I really like this one and if I end up signing up for this one. And 2, just looks like an absolutely beautiful race. So maybe the ASICS Susquehanna River Running Festival half marathon will be one of my tune-up races. The other option that I am looking at is on that same exact day, on September 23rd. It is the half marathon at City Island in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. This course takes place on a decent amount of the route that I ran in my last marathon back in November of 2022, the Harrisburg Marathon. So I'm familiar with this course. I know it is definitely a little bit flatter and on paper, definitely a little bit faster than the one taking place in Havre de Grace, the ASICS half marathon there. So this is definitely another option for me. And as I sort of think about which marathon I'm going to be doing, maybe picking a slightly hillier half marathon might be a smart option considering what my potential options are for my marathon in the fall. So let's talk about those potential marathons. I'm currently looking at 3 of them. One of them not really in my control at the moment. The other 2 I could sign up for at any point. I'm just sort of waiting to hear back from that other one. So we'll start with one of the ones that I could potentially sign up for that is in my control, and that is the debut, the inaugural Ocean City Running Festival full marathon. I am definitely familiar with staying in Ocean City, running races there. I've now run the half marathon at Rehoboth, which is just like a stone's throw away. It's only like a half an hour from Ocean City. I've run the full marathon and a half at Rehoboth, and this is just, again, 30-40 minutes away from there. And Ocean City, awesome place to run if you're familiar with it. It is so flat. I think the most elevation gain I have ever had on like a 20-mile long run might be like 90 feet of elevation gain, and it's probably just, the slopes and the sidewalk. It is super flat, so that's obviously a big plus. And it looks like this course for this inaugural marathon is not on any like loose gravel, seashell laden trails or anything. This looks like it is all taking place on road, which is good for me because I definitely work harder when I don't have as solid of a surface underneath me. I have found that in both the Rehoboth half and full marathons, when you get to that sort of like loose, sort of packed gravel or trail, like sandy material, my legs just tire out a lot quicker. So this is a very flat marathon. I think it's only around like 100, 150 feet of elevation gain over the whole entire thing. And it's the first ever one, which I think would be really cool to be around for. And again, that's taking place the final weekend before Halloween in October. So that is my current, one of my top 3 options. My second option, I have absolutely no control over, but I should find out potentially if I will be running it in the next week or 2. And that is the TCS New York City Marathon. Now that may sound incredibly daunting. I've only run 3 marathons in my life. They have all been pretty flat and I haven't had to go to big cities to run any of them. None of them have had like thousands upon thousands of participants. So this is a big step if I do run it. And the reason I say it's not in my control is because I applied for a spot through Believe in the Run. And if you're familiar with, running YouTube, you've probably come across Believe in the Run before. They cover a lot of different things in the media with running with different marathons. They're members of their company, run all the time as well. They're based out of Baltimore, Maryland. I've been following them for years. I've watched their shoe reviews religiously for years since I've gotten into running. And when they said that they were getting together a team for the New York City Half Marathon with New Balance, I immediately threw my hat in the ring. Again, they have like no reason to pick me, but I figured why not? Why not apply for it? Because running a major marathon, running the New York City Marathon, a big city marathon like that, that's a once in a lifetime type of experience, type of opportunity. And I definitely am one of those people who wants to run as many majors, if not all of them, that I possibly can. We'll see if it gets accepted. If it doesn't, I'm not going to be devastated. I'll try to get there another year. And considering the weather of New York City Marathon last year, definitely makes me a little nervous. Thinking about running all over those bridges makes me even more nervous, but I don't know if it'll be a straight up running gun PR attempt if I were to get into this. Maybe it would be. Maybe I would do a lot more hill training and choose that hilly half marathon in Havre de Grace, Maryland for my tune-up race. And my final potential choice for my marathon takes place the week after the New York City Marathon. So the D&L Marathon, the Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor Marathon. I don't think they've done a marathon up there in a couple years, so I'm interested to see sort of what it looks like. This one, flat and fast, taking place right next to a river on a river trail, which appears to be a pretty fast course with not a ton of hills, not a ton of elevation gain. This one is point to point, which is definitely fun. I've only run one point to point race in my life, which was the Jim Thorpe Marathon back in 2021. I had so much fun running that race. And this one again takes place on November 12th. So this one is appealing for that reason. I feel like even though they're all within 2 weeks of each other, the likelihood of getting cool temps obviously increases as your marathon, especially here in the northeast portion of the United States, gets pushed back in terms of its date into November. So this definitely has the potential for cool temperatures. I'm a fan of running in the cold, so this one could be good for me if the other ones fall through, or if I ultimately just decide to choose this one over the others. That is my third choice, and I have no idea which one I'm gonna pick. Everything is sort of hanging in the balance, but I do have a couple events down on the calendar. Running 5K, hopefully fast, hopefully not 100 degrees at 9 a.m. in the morning when I am running it. I am running 2 half marathons at a minimum in September. Definitely still juggling between the options of that Harrisburg half marathon and the one in Havre de Grace, Maryland, taking place on the 23rd. Definitely excited to run with my brother again in early September. And then, it's sort of up to the running gods which marathon I run in either late October or early November, between the D&L Marathon in November, the New York City Marathon in November, or the Ocean City Running Festival Marathon in late October. Regardless of which races I end up running, I'm just grateful to have another year where I can put some events on the calendar, hopefully stay healthy, and have a great time doing this. So let me know, what are your racing plans for the rest of 2023? Definitely interested to see what people are doing in regards to their training, in regards to their summer miles leading up to those fall races, marathons, half marathons, ultras, you name it. Let me know what you are doing this year down in the comments below. We'll catch up soon. Peace.
Or